Hello, Rink Rats. We're here with a member of America's #1 hockey family, my lifelong buddy, Mark Riley.
Fergie.
Buddies for life. And we're going to dedicate this interview to the memories of Mr. Jack Riley and the memories of
Bernie Burke.
Bernie Burke. Two great lifelong friends, and that's the reason we're here, and that's the reason we are friends.
Exactly.
So it's very rare that you get to talk to a BC player who both has the resume and the pedigree, and Brother Riles here has both. Class of 1975, co-captain along with Richie Hart, and wore a few numbers. We'll get into one of the numbers that he really didn't wear in a minute, but awarded the James Tiernan Award for Most Improved Player in 1974 from the Pikes Peak Varsity Club. 1975 awarded the Snooks Kelly Award for the player who best typifies BC hockey, which you certainly do, and you certainly have since typified BC hockey. A lifelong fan, doesn't miss a game. Co-captain 74-75. Notched 54 points in 85 games over 3 seasons. Riles was a member of the last freshman team, which was 72 that disbanded?
71, 72 was the last year of NCAA freshman hockey.
Last season. So that was the last year that my dad coached the freshman team.
Yeah.
And he was probably always the de facto goalie coach since 1950, but then from that point on, he was strictly the goalie coach, assistant coach. And then 3 years under Lenny.
Exactly.
Under that. 1973 attained a 22-7-1 record where they went to the Frozen Four and came in third. Who did you guys beat to come in third?
So we won our last game that year, which today is not a big deal unless you win the championship. So we beat Cornell for 3rd place.
Oh, wow.
That was a U.S.-Canada game.
Yeah.
And we pretty much got handled by Denver on Friday night.
Well, you're not alone.
So Denver came in with about 3 or 4 stud players that were going to the NHL, which was pretty much unheard of back then. Yeah. Denver beat us handily, and then I believe Wisconsin knocked off Cornell, and Wisconsin won it for the first time ever.
That was the first time they won it?
Badger Bob, yep.
Really? Oh, Johnson, yeah, he would have been the coach, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Riles had a hat trick on November 24th, 1974 versus Boston State. Eddie Barry, I assume, was behind the bench at that
Eddie
point?
was behind the bench, yeah. Do you have any other hat tricks listed on that chart?
That would be it, Riles. That would be it. But it was meaningful.
Yeah, I had one.
It was meaningful.
Richie Smith had 4 that game, so he took the took the highlight of that game.
Richie took the highlights of a lot of
games.
games.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
Now, when I say a member of America's hockey family, let's rattle off all the names. Let's start with Jack, Billy, Joey,
Jimmy.
Jimmy.
The 4 brothers from Medford.
Take it from there.
So
cover everyone.
Well, boy, that's going to take a while. So so my brother Jay, my older brother Jay, played at Harvard. He played with some of those great players of Kavanaugh, of Hines, Corkery, McManama, Joe Battaglia.
Joe would have been the goalie, yep.
And then I was number 2 in that lineup. Rob was number 3. Rob was class of 78.
Who was also a co-captain with Paul Barrett on the great 78 team.
And then my brother Brian played at Brown. He was co-captain of Brown. So
3 captains.
Yeah, and then my sister, who's probably the best hockey player in the family, she was at St. Lawrence, and I should say she was class of. You're putting me on the spot here, but she's played college hockey when women's hockey was brand new,
Non-existent.
Yeah, brand new, and she played soccer and ice hockey, and she was entered into the St. Lawrence Hall of Fame probably about 10 years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Jack, Billy, Joey, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Tell me about the career of these guys.
So my dad
These are all post-war legends
Yeah,
when hockey was
so-
just getting going again.
Yeah, so Dartmouth had great teams back in the 40s. Great rivalry, BC and Dartmouth. So my dad went to Dartmouth. Sophomore year, he got basically pulled out of school to go to World War II. Billy and Joey played. They were a couple years later, but they played right up until about '49 when I believe it was BC Dartmouth were in the finals, and your dad was the goalie.
Well, 48 was the first Frozen Four, and the same four teams went in 48 and 49.
Yeah, so
I think Billy was 49. Joey class of 48, I think. I know Joey was all tournament team. In
yeah,
the
I
first
believe
Frozen
Billy was
Four.
a year ahead of Joey, and I thought
Okay.
Dartmouth won it that first year, but they didn't have a national championship.
I think it was
They-
Michigan.
Michigan, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Michigan was there. Another powerhouse was Illinois back then, but
Michigan, Colorado, BC, Dartmouth, 2
yeah.
years in a row.
2 years in a row. Okay.
Two
So
years
then,
in a row.
and then obviously the BC team in '49.
49.
So they played in a great Dartmouth college hockey era,
Hey.
and then my uncle Jimmy he went to BU. He played at Belmont Hill with Clary, and then he went to BU, and
57 goals in 17 games at Kimball Union. Jimmy.
yeah,
That's,
Jimmy was quite a player
Jimmy
too.
could go.
Didn't get the recognition the three older brothers got, and
Younger brothers never get the recognition.
well, I guess so. You can, yeah, but Jimmy was a great player in his own right.
And Riles, I noticed the other night when I was looking stuff up, I can't believe I didn't know this or remember this. Robby's freshman year was your senior year, so you guys had a chance to play together over at BC.
Yes, yeah, we did. We played in the same line actually a few games, and we had a couple good games together. I know we both scored goals against Northeastern, both popped against Denver out in Denver. Might have been a few others, but it's kind of a blur right now, Berkey.
Did you guys ever score against Dad?
Yeah, we did. We played Army every year. That was quite a rivalry back then. We played BC my senior year, Rob's freshman year, and it was a defensive battle. We won 9-7. I think Army went ahead 3-0, and then we had a nice comeback. Rob got a goal. I was fortunate enough to get 2 goals, so I'm not sure my dad liked that, but yeah, it was quite a game playing Army. We always looked forward to that.
Bittersweet for Big Dad, for Big
Yep.
Jack. Was that the game that you got the Pierre Club Award
That would have been the game, yeah.
for the
Pierre
senior
Club,
year? And that was from the fan club down
yeah, the fan club. They sat up behind the goal, sat right next to the BC band.
next to the band, and they gave it to their favorite senior, which you were.
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't have many seniors, but that's besides.
It would have been an easy decision anyway, Riles.
Yeah.
Well, in addition to Jack and Billy and Joey and of course Jimmy, you got also cousin Uncle Bronco Billy.
Yeah, so Billy would have been the first of the Riley boys to play college hockey. He had a nice career at BU. Played, I believe he played with Dickie Toomey and Jack Parker. I think he and Parker were on the same line for a while.
They were until Billy broke his arm. Jack told me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that was
Billy
that.
was a good college player, and then he had a great, even a better coaching career. He started at Lehigh, went to Lowell Tech. Lowell Tech became Lowell, and then UMass Lowell, and Billy's responsible for putting Lowell or UMass Lowell on the map.
Now, going back to when you played at BC, let me throw some names at you, Riles.
Yeah.
Give me a few words that pop into your head. Richie Smith, who we mentioned briefly earlier.
So Richie Smith was probably the best overall playmaker, skilled forward, hands, just a great offensive, skilled player.
And probably the first 4-year superstar since the freshman program disbanded.
He would have been, because he came in as a freshman, and he was the first class to play right out of the chute, play freshman right till senior.
From Natick.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about What about Mello? Tommy Mello, the Cub.
Tommy Mellor, who came back from the Olympic team, played on. I was a sophomore. He was a senior. He was like our Bobby Orr. He was, bar none, he was the best defenseman that year in college hockey, I thought.
Yeah.
And he had an offensive skill that reminded me of a Bobby Orr type player.
And he wore the right number to be Bobby Orr,
Exactly.
too.
Yeah, from Rhode Island. Yeah.
Cranston, Rhode Island. One of my favorites, Nettie Yetton. In the
He was a fierce competitor. Boy, he was a gamer. He just the bigger the game or the more important the circumstances were, just
money goalie.
get out of his way. He was tuned in, and yeah, he was a competitor.
And he also had another great goalie, Neil Higgins.
Neil was a great goalie.
His father invented the mask.
Yeah, Neil got hurt. Nettie came in, and Neil never got another shot.
That was it.
Yeah, one point we won 11 games in a row. We beat some of the heavyweights, the BUs, the Cornells.
Like Lou Gehrig. Nobody
Yeah.
got a second chance. Mike Powers.
Powers was, I think of him as the best hands, the best scorer I've ever played with.
Really?
Yeah, he got 5 goals at one game in the Beanpot. But offensive zone, boy, could he put the puck in the net.
Is that right? Murph. Tommy Murray.
Tommy Murray, I
Another
was
good
from,
guys.
I was from West Point, New York. I was like a Westerner at the time. The whole team was made up of pretty much Massachusetts, a couple of Rhode Island kids, Jimmy King also.
Yep.
So I was from West Point. Murph was from New York City. So Murph was a character, great teammate.
Was?
Oh, he still is a character. Yeah. And he had that New York City wit, so you had to be on your toes. You know? And he's a great friend today. So he played a big game. We were in the Detroit tournament. We beat Penn. I think we lost to Michigan State. We take a bus ride up to Notre Dame, and Murph gets the call to play. I think Nettie might have got hurt. It's a 3 to. It's a. I think we're ahead 4-3 with 2 minutes to go. They pull a goalie. Murph gets spun around. Next thing you know, I think it was Bill Nyra takes a shot from the point, hits Murph right in the ass, makes the save. 35 seconds later, we win the game.
Clutch.
So I think of Murph's big save there.
Hey,
Yeah.
take it where you have to.
Yeah.
Stave it backwards.
Yeah.
Who cares? Now, what was it like? I don't know. You were a young kid, you and Robby, but just having your dad be the coach of the gold medal team in 1960. What was it like growing up with your dad having coached that miraculous team?
Yeah. So it was
Big Jack.
It was a combination of him coaching West Point and taking a year off to coach the Olympic team. I was a little guy running around the rink when they were doing their training camp.
Must have been fun though.
Yeah, it was a blast.
And
I remember, we had the players all back at the house at Christmas break and other times. And I remember going to practice when they had 35 guys, and he had to get the team
Cut it
down to a number.
what do you get it down to? How many guys did he go with?
Geez, the teams were like 8. I think they were like 20 players.
I was going to say 20 maybe.
It might have been. I don't even think it was 18 and 2. But
Did you skate with them?
max. I did not skate with them.
No?
No, I was young. I skated later on with some NHL teams that practiced at West Point.
Really?
But going back to that time frame, the Olympics, we didn't go out there, the kids, my mom and dad. My mom went out, obviously. But, that first game against Russia was on TV, Wide World of Sports with Bud Palmer.
Way back.
That was the
God.
first game on live TV, hockey game. I was still, I believe to this day, that's a fact. In U.S. beat the Russians at 3-2.
Yep.
If you were in Vegas, the odds would have been 50-1.
Yeah.
Maybe more. That
Weren't 9 to 5.
there weren't 9-5ers. No, it might have been 100-1. But anyway, that was such a big game, and it kind of generated so much interest with the general public because hockey back then it was very territorial. You had your 6 NHL teams, and in certain pockets that were big on hockey, but other areas they they weren't really tuned into, you go south of New York City and
No.
hockey was.
Hockey? What's that?
Yeah. So anyway, it was cool to be there at that time. My dad came back from the Olympics. Everybody went home. After they won the Olympics, there was no fanfare. They went home to their respective towns. We had a Zamboni ride from the rink down to the parade grounds. So now there's 4,000 cadets outside in a big, a big celebration.
Oh my God.
And we were sitting in the Zamboni. My dad's up with the gold medal, showing everybody, and the cadets are going crazy.
That must
So
have
I
been a
remember
blast.
that. I think I was in second grade. So that was really cool. And then just being there at West Point for part, from I think we moved back there in '58. So the Olympics was so cool, and then more importantly, being there at West Point was a great place to grow up as a kid.
I was just like, I always think of you as being from around here, but
Yeah.
you grew up at West Point. That must have been
Yeah,
wild.
I moved there in first or second grade. I was born in Boston, St. A's, lived in Westwood. My mom's family's from Newton. My
Yeah.
dad's from Medford. So
Yeah.
all my aunts and uncles were this area.
My dad was a big fan of your mom.
Yeah, Newton.
Big fan
yeah.
of your mom.
So yeah, West Point was a cool place to grow up.
Did you have free reign of the campus and
We
everything?
pretty much did, yeah. So we had, we'd go out to all the hockey games, needless to say, the football games, the baseball games, the lacrosse games. We had a key to the rink, so
Oh my God.
I don't even know if they even locked the rink back then, but we could, the rink was 2 miles from our house.
Come on in, Rails.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it was a great place for a young kid if you're into sports, especially. So we were bat boys for the Army baseball team. We were, we just had the campus was like our home. So
So,
it's not like that today, but it was back then.
as you know, we call the podcast Rink Rats. This might be the original Rink Rat right here. Right?
Yeah,
Free,
we were rink rats right from the get-go.
free reign.
Yeah.
Free reign. Now, I looked up what numbers you wore, and we have number 2, 22, and 25. But you claim you didn't wear 25.
Yeah, so I had number. I can't hold this guy's. I'll be careful how I word that, but I remember as a kid, I loved the BC Army rivalry, and Army had some great teams in the '60s, and obviously the big game for us as kids at West Point was always when BC came to town. BC brought the band. I don't know, maybe a couple other teams brought the band, but BC and the Army rivalry was great. And as I'll get to the number in a second, but one year, it might have been '64, Army was number 2 in the East. They had a great team. Army loses to BC at Madison Square Garden because they had a holiday tournament. Army loses like 10-3. So my dad was he was a little upset. And
He had a
tell-
temper too, didn't he?
Yeah, a little bit. He tells Bill Flynn, "Hey Bill, you're coming to West Point on February 10th. We'll even it up." Bill Flynn's, gentleman, just shaking my dad's hand. "Jack, good to see you."
Yeah.
Sure. When we fast forward, Army beat BC like 5-2,
Yeah.
and that was a big year for Army hockey. But so one of the players I remember at BC was number 2 was John Cunniff.
Cuddy, yep.
Yeah. And for some reason, I was a little kid. I remember just watching him play. I said, "Boy, he just kind of took over when he was on the ice." So as a young kid, I said, "I want to be number 2."
Okay.
I didn't quite match kind of stats, but so when I go to BC, I came from Choate. I did a PG year at Choate. I wore number 2. I wore number 2 in high school.
Geez, that was early for the PG stuff.
Everybody, not everybody, but it was a common thing to do in late '60s, early '70s. You took a PG year before you went to college. There were no junior teams back then.
Right.
Yeah. So I went to Choate, wore number 2. I came to BC freshman year. We had the last year of freshman hockey, which is a pretty cool thing. You hung out with the same, 20 guys, and there was no pressure right away to make the varsity.
Right.
But there certainly was when you fast forward, and then you have all the new incoming freshmen. So it was pretty tough.
So did Bernie give you 2?
Well, freshman year I got 12. I had no say in the matter. So thank you, sir. Whatever number you give me.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
want to play. Just get me on the
Yeah,
ice.
Just give me a number.
Yeah.
And then the next year, I wore number 2 as a sophomore, which was my favorite hockey season ever. When as a player, we went to the Final Four,
Yep.
the Frozen Four. But I wore number 2 my sophomore year. I wore number 22 sophomore year
Okay.
because there was Lenny Nolan was number 2. So I wore 22, which I liked. So I tell people I wore 22 before Doug Flutie, actually.
You know who was number 22? Bernie.
Bernie was, see, I didn't know that.
Bernie always said Flutie stole his number.
Yeah, well, then where do I fall on that line? But
You're right up there.
Yeah, so Flutie stole my number, evidently, and Tim Mitchell, too. So, but, so I wore 22. I wore 2 the next year. The senior year, and this drove Lenny nuts. I said, Lenny, I think I want 25. And he said, he gave me that look. I said, well, so we have the picture, the team picture. I put 25 on. I get the picture with Hardy. I get the team picture with everybody. And the shirt comes up to my waist. I go, what the heck? All the other shirts are larges and extra large. But this 25 is like a medium.
And you're like 6'2".
Yeah, I said, Coach, I can't wear the shirt. It's too small. Well, Lenny just about flipped out. One was threw his stick in the rafters. Lenny, I'll go back to number 2. So I was listed in the first in the program as number 25, but
Didn't happen.
they finally corrected that. So
Well, apparently
anyway,
not. You're still in the media guide is wearing 25.
I never wore it. No, I wore it for one day in practice. Yeah.
See?
So we got to talk to the SID.
I think we got to straighten that
Yeah,
out.
yeah. They might have taken a few points away from me.
I think
too.
it's the office next door. That'll be
Yeah.
our next stop.
Yeah. So anyway, that's my number story. I'm sure that's pretty boring, but
No,
Yeah.
nothing's boring. So your greatest hockey influences, you mentioned kind of course, your dad and
Yeah.
Christ, everybody else in your family.
yeah.
Is there anyone else as a youngster, or even coming up all the way through Choate and BC that really had an impact on you hockey wise?
You know, I'd go back to my dad and just how I look at how he interacted with the cadets, how he had such a special relationship. I mean, he could blast them, he could get in their face, win, lose, or draw, but the players always wanted to play for him. So I was really impressed with his overall relationship to all the guys, and he always had their back. And his hockey mind, he was so sharp. He was doing plus minuses, back in the 60s.
Student of the game.
Yeah, no one was doing plus minuses. My dad would pull a goalie with 1:50 to go. For years, no one in the NHL would pull a goalie till a minute.
Now that's
now
the
you
rule.
look,
2 minutes.
they all pull. Yeah, he was doing that years ago.
Ahead of his time.
Yeah, he just had a great mind for the game. He had a great relationship with his players, and then he was obviously a great dad to the 4 of us and my sister. So he was by far the number one influence on me in the hockey environment,
Right.
and just as a people person, and how he related to players and players related to him. I was always impressed with that.
Yeah.
And I played for great coaches. I had a great high school coach, Bob Dyeroff. Played for Coach Bill Pudva at Choate. And then I loved playing for your dad. Your dad was one of the best guys ever. And we had a blast playing freshman hockey. We
Yeah.
might have played New Prep every other Friday, but that was fine. But half those kids from New Prep came to BC. It seems like
It was a recruiting tactic.
Yeah. And but your dad was a special guy, and
He was.
he and my dad were great friends.
Yep.
Your dad used to referee Army football games.
We'd go stay there, and
Yeah.
they'd give me a bowl of candy, and
Yeah.
your dad
And-
might
and-
be talking in
and,
the kitchen
And it was my dad and Bill Flynn put the Army BC football schedule together.
on the back of an envelope, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So BC would play Army 2 years. Army would go play BC once up here, and that was a great rivalry till then. Things changed with leagues and
Right.
so on.
We had a lot of fun going up there on
Yeah.
that mountain. Me and my father would be leaning this way. We're both scared of heights.
Yeah, it's
Terrified.
Yeah, you don't want to go through there on a foggy night.
No. Now, who would you say, while you were at BC, your toughest opponent? Whether it be a team or an individual player or a goalie?
Well, my sophomore year we were loaded. So my junior and senior year, we just had average teams. But if I look back at, obviously at that time, Harvard was loaded, BU was loaded, as far as local top
Right.
teams. We had a great rivalry with UNH. They were really good. Some of the best players that I either played against or were played in that era, I think one of the guy that sticks out is Joe Kavanaugh. I didn't play against him. I was like a year or two afterwards. But my brother Jay was at Harvard. He played with Joe Kavanaugh.
Yep.
And Joe was from Rhode Island. And I think he was the best college hockey player that I saw in the 70s.
Tommy Miller said the same thing.
Did he? Okay. I just remember going to Harvard games all the time, and teams were trying to run him, and boy, he was tough. He skill, right through the roof.
Yep.
So after Joe, if I had to kind of pinpoint some players I played against, there was Gordy Clark from UNH.
Gordy Clark.
He was a great player. Cox and Hislop, they were at UNH. They were great players. Harvard had Randy Roth sticks out. BU had a ton of good players. I remember playing against Dolph a couple of years in a row. Steve Dolph from Melrose.
And you would have played against Terry Mahar.
Yeah, Mahars were unbelievable
Right.
players. Yeah. So those are some of the names that stick out. Brown.
Did you play against Stanfield?
Yeah, Vic Stanfield, great defenseman. I
Yeah.
knew Vic pretty well. He became a good friend. So those are some of the names. Some of the best BC players. Tommy Miller was second to none.
Yeah.
And that whole team, we had a ton of good players. We had, Ed Kenty, Jimmy King, just to name a few. And I don't want to miss anybody. We had some great defensemen, Chucker Lambert, obviously.
Yep.
But those are some of the guys that
Bobby
stick
Reardon?
out. Bobby Reardon was a great player. Bobby Reardon was like he was like a Bergeron type player. Overall, he could do anything.
Steady, consistent.
Yeah, you could put him on man up, man down. He was a complete hockey player. Bobby Reardon. Yeah.
All right. Now, you get the Riley Hockey Camp down in the Vineyard in August?
Nantucket.
Nantucket.
Yeah.
How do I sign up for that game?
Yeah. You're overqualified.
So, in that light, what advice would you have for young kids, young players, young athletes, young hockey players today?
So we've been doing hockey camps forever. It seems like my dad started it way back when after the Olympics. Eventually, we started running his hockey camps. He had camps in Philadelphia, Kansas City. We were all over the map. So Jay would go to Kansas City, I would go to Philly. We were doing the hockey camp circuit before it was really cool.
Yeah.
You know that song, I Was Country Before Country Was Cool?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we were doing the hockey camps way back
Your
when.
dad used to give me a shirt from the camp every year.
Yeah, my dad worked that camp at Eastern Hockey School in Worcester. That was the first big sleepover camp.
Yeah.
Doc Connors. But as far as the camps go, and as far as hockey goes for kids, it's got to be fun. And kids don't have to play 11 months a year. It's almost overkill. Let the kid play lacrosse. Let them play baseball. Let them. But we make sure when the kids at the hockey school, we make sure when they leave at the end of the day, they're happy. They're leaving the rink and they want to come back the next day.
Have some fun.
Yeah.
And you guys are having fun too.
Exactly. So we've been on Nantucket for 19 years since they first built the rink. Prior to that, I was in Philadelphia for about 20 some odd years, and had a great group of guys that worked for me. Donnie Vaughn from Colgate, Ray Sherrow, who's gone on for he was from St. Lawrence. I had a lot of St. Lawrence guys because my brother Rob worked at St. Lawrence for Mike McShane, Paul Castron, and.
Philly or Nantucket? I'm going to take the Nantucket.
Well, one summer I did both. I left Nantucket. I did 1 week just to feel it out. I went to Philly, drove down the New Jersey Turnpike, and I came back after the Philly camp, and I said to Rob and Brian, guys, I'm done with Philadelphia. It's been a great run, but I think I'm going to do 2 weeks in Nantucket.
Send me to the islands.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's been a great experience. Great people on Nantucket. I've got to know all the local guys, and it changes in the summer when everybody, it goes from 10,000 to 70,000.
Oh, right, yeah.
But Nantucket's a great hockey community, and I saw their high school team play the other night, and they beat DY 2-0. And a lot of those kids were 6, 7 years old.
No kidding.
At our hockey school.
That's outstanding.
So it's good to see the high school.
So you got some kids. Riley Hockey Camp. What's the website, Riles?
RileyHockey.com.
RileyHockey.com.
Yeah. I don't think the island's big enough for you, Berkey, but let me know if you want to come
Well,
over.
if you need a wingman, kid, I'm there. Now, if you could define your greatest BC hockey moment, what would it be? Well, it could be a player, it could be a fan, whatever.
Yeah. So, Berkey, I didn't score a lot of goals. I was on the checking line that my sophomore year.
Yeah.
So I got a lot of ice time because I had to shadow all the big guys for Cornell, or Carlo Ugolini, or Dolph at BU. Tried to shadow Harvard, but I couldn't keep up with Hines, McManama, and Corkery. But probably my biggest thrill, my biggest moment, it might be two of them. My sophomore year, we played BU on a Saturday afternoon, probably the first week of January, and we beat them 7-5, an old-fashioned shootout. And I had 2 goals.
Nice.
Hit the post once, which story of my
2.5.
Story of my career.
Yeah.
So that was a great afternoon game. I remember my brother Jay came over from Harvard. A bunch of Harvard guys came over. So we went out and had a few ginger ales afterwards.
A couple of Pepsis.
And that was a great moment for me and for our team, beating BU. Now, BC had beaten BU the year before, Snooks'
Final year.
yeah, final win over BU. Snooks' 500th, right?
Yep.
So, and then I think the same week or the week later, we have Cornell come in town on a Tuesday night. Now, Cornell, I don't think BC had beaten Cornell in 10, 11 years.
Certainly not in the late 60s.
No, and so now here we are in 73, and it was 11 or 12 years anyway. So we beat Cornell 3-1. I happened to pop 1 goal that game, and I remember the face-off at the last minute. We're on the ice against their big line, and I think I turned to Ray Darcy, and the place is going crazy.
Ray Darcy.
Yeah, and we look at each other and say, wow, this place is nuts. And then I didn't realize it at the time, but I said, well, I guess when you don't beat Cornell for 11, 12 years,
It's a big
this
deal.
is what happens. Yeah.
Where'd you put it?
Yeah.
Top shelf? Or?
I probably went 5-hole. I was probably shooting for the upper left, but yeah, it was down low. I had a good low shot. I don't think I could lift it that high. Yeah.
Straight stick?
No, not really. No. I've had the big Stan Mikita hook.
What kind of stick did you use?
Well, we had the Victoriavilles.
Those were heavy.
Yes, or Northlands. Now,
Lighter.
yeah, but they're all wood sticks, obviously. But
Yeah.
I could always go to West Point and grab some sticks. My dad would get demos from Norcon, from Jofa. So I'd come back with all these, different brands. And I don't know if a coach liked that, but so I had a few different options on what kind of stick I wanted to use.
You have the inside track.
Yeah,
You have the
some
inside track.
worked, some didn't work.
All
That
right.
was a great year. Those are 2 great moments. It's the BU and the
Anytime
and the Cornell game.
Yeah.
And the Cornell game was like a USA Canada game. They were all Canadians. We were all Americans.
Yeah.
And so it was something special about that
Yeah,
game.
yeah. All right.
Yeah.
What else you want to touch on, Riles? Anything?
Well, I'll just say playing for your dad was great. We had a great year. Joey Marsh was my roommate. Joey didn't stay too long. He went to UNH shortly thereafter. When sophomore year we had
Longtime St. Lawrence coach.
sophomore year we had 20 new kids trying out for the team because of the freshman situation. So that year was a blast. And your dad was so good, and he made it fun for us.
I never thought about this until after my dad passed. He had to create a new team every single year.
Yeah.
You didn't have 2 or 3 years to develop
Yeah.
lines and everything. It was like bing, bang,
Yeah,
boom.
you put it together early.
You know?
Yeah.
How many games
Yeah.
do you think you played a year on the freshman team? 20 maybe? 18?
We probably played 20.
Yeah.
Probably played new prep 6 times.
Yeah.
We played, and we played, before the varsity. So we would play at a 4 o'clock game, and the varsity would play at 7:30.
I'm sure you scrimmaged the varsity.
Yeah, we played them in a scrimmage, and that was a big game at the time.
I would think,
Freshman, I think we lost about 5-1. I did pop the goal in that game, and I did get rocked by a defenseman, a guy named Cronin. And if people say, well, what was the toughest hit you ever had? I said, I think it was my varsity freshman game.
Same school.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but it's funny, the things you remember.
Oh,
right?
yeah. One thought begets another.
Yeah. So, you know, the upperclassmen, they didn't want to give the freshmen
No.
any. No.
Because next year you could have taken their job.
Yeah. So, but that was, playing for your dad was great.
All right.
So.
We're lucky we both had fantastic
Yeah.
fathers who gave us both a love of the game.
Yeah.
And he developed, obviously, a lot more than I did. I was strictly JV club. This guy went up to the V, so,
Well, let's keep developing, right?
you know.
All right.
My buddy Riles.
Yeah.
Riles,
Great.
want to say goodbye to the Rink Rats?
Thanks, guys. I hope this interview didn't put you to sleep, but it's a little bit of BC hockey and West Point hockey, and go BC.
All right. Go get him. Thanks, Riles.
Thank you, buddy.
Take it easy,
Yeah.
buddy.